Are you experiencing grief now that your adult child is estranged or has been estranged for some time? Well, in this video, we're going to be discussing this very challenging topic, and I'm going to give you some good practical help so that you can get through and move forward. Hi, I'm Marie Morin. I'm a therapist and a wellness coach. Let's get started. Estrangement is the growing condition describing the intentional separation of an individual from the family. In case of an adult child, they choose to estrange from a parent, which causes suffering and a lot of pain. They may feel this loss and be very overwhelmed. This is an intentional separation. It's one that can be either emotional distance, where there is some communication, but you could just feel that they are really not interested in being connected with you. Or it could also be the physical distance, where there is no communication or very little communication and meeting. Sometimes the adult child just completely cuts off. They stop texting, they don't contact you, there's no emailing, they don't take calls, and in other times there may be intermittent contact. They may respond with a brief thank you or yes or no, whatever, but it's in any event, it is a cut off. It is different from what it used to be. Very often when an adult child cuts ties completely, they may also cut ties with their siblings and relatives. There could be a lot of complex things that are going on, and this experience can vary from one person to the other. However, the cutoff leaves parents grieving, and grief can be experienced differently. There is no one way or correct way. It's a normal process, and we know that it can be quite excruciating when you know the loss is intentional. The process of grief is different for everyone. There is no one right way to do it. You can grieve in a way that is experiencing different emotions within a day. It's not like you have to go through shock and then bargaining and then denial and guilt and anger and depression and then get to acceptance and hope. You can do them by going from one to the next, or maybe landing in a lot of anger and then going back to some guilt or whatever. Everybody's experience is different. But the interesting thing is that we now find that forgiveness is a part of the grieving process. And sometimes it's not only forgiving the other person, but it's also forgiving ourselves. And forgiveness, as many of you are aware, is about letting the other person or yourself off the hook for a wrong committed. Let's pause here and remember that within the parent-adult-child relationship, you can have a scale of healthy, where there can be a lot of healthy behaviors and not as many toxic or very difficult, conflicting, abusive behaviors. Or you can have a lot of abusive behavior and very few, and then you can have somewhere in between. Every relationship can be different, and there's no one set way that guarantees you're going to have estranged children. However, remember, there's no perfect kids and there's no perfect parents. Healthy relationships encourage independence and mutual respect, right? The ability to make decisions without manipulation, guilt, and demands. Those are healthy relationships. We honor each other's privacy and choices. We establish healthy boundaries around time and resources, and that includes money too. So in every family, different things are going on. When you are grieving the loss of the relationship status with your adult child, there is so much to consider. It's not just about the parent. It's not just about the child relationship. The complexity is very, very deep, and there's a lot of layers. You're going to want to watch my video on why adult children cut off. It goes into a deeper dive of what is going on and what are the contributing factors. But one thing to remember is that there are other things in your adult child's life that can contribute to the estrangement. It's not only about you. Some exceptional families and parents did the best they could and still found themselves kicked to the curb. Likewise, some adult children had some very bad experiences in their families at the hands of their parents. From the research of adult children, there are 3 reasons for estranging that they say are abuse, betrayal, and poor parenting. And this comes from them. So remember also that we know that everybody has a different perspective. Let's go back to grief. What does this have to do with the grieving process? Well, naturally, when you've been cut off, whether it just happened recently or it's been going on for some time, the grieving process begins. It's not like you can avoid it. It just happens. It's a lot of emotion. What's gone on? What has happened? You may be in shock. You may be dumbfounded, gobsmacked. I hear a lot of things from people that contact me. And it's a challenging state. It's an emotional state. And for some people, it's really hard to get out of. One of the things that must be considered is that it is so devastating to parents sometimes, and when their kids have been brutal with them, some of them are like, hey, I'm really glad that you left. But when there was a relatively good relationship between them, parents are so devastated that it feels like a traumatic event. You're going to want to watch also my video, 11 Reasons Why Adult Children Cut Off, Not Just Toxic. You're going to learn what the research says. So what do we do to move forward? What do you do? Well, parents who grieve the relationship status with their adult child, processing emotions is essential. If you ignore it, it isn't just going to go away magically. Processing means you give attention and time to the feelings. You're not going to feel good, and you can't just ignore them or expect that they're going to go away because you try and do something else. They are going to be there. So in order to move forward, you have to move through. So the first thing that you want to do is to be informed. You want to discover what the research says. In the description box below, I have, and on the bottom of all my writing, most of my writing, I have a list of resources, excellent resources that you could read. But let me warn you, because there's a lot of stuff out there. If you go online and you start researching, you may find a slew of what other parents are experiencing. And it isn't pretty, and it doesn't feel good all the time. You can get reassured that you're not alone, but you're going to want to take it in small doses so you don't get overwhelmed. Remember that there are approximately, and I think this number is low, 27% of the United States population, and that's just the United States population, that are estranged from one or more family member. And many of those family members are adult kids. You're going to want to just keep a cap on how much time you spend looking at the bad news. Learn when you can. Take doses that are small enough so you could just stop and go do something else to refresh yourself. Your key in this process is to be very compassionate. Do small doses. The second thing that you want to do is get support. So, when someone passes, we all talk about, therapists talk about how the necessity to get support, to have people that are in your corner that know something about this and that can come alongside of you to help you through. Don't do it alone. There are very many trained professionals, expert estrangement coaches, and therapists who do know about estrangement with adult children. You want someone to come alongside you so you can process with the support, with someone holding your hand through as you go through this difficult period. The third thing you want to do is be around those who love and value you. So if you've been listening to my videos, you know I say this a lot. Why? Because we don't want to isolate. Isolation just brings us into the grieving process, potentially going into complicated grief and experiencing a deeper level of depression. Not a good thing. If you can avoid it, push yourself a little. Make sure you're out around people. If you've been going to social events, continue to go. Do the best you can to show up and get the support you need so you can continue to do those things, such as being around people who love and value you. The fourth thing you want to do is to process your emotion through journaling. So I know a lot of you don't really care to journal, but I think it's because you fear that you want to write it a certain way. You could write a list of things, how you feel, words. It doesn't have to be anything specific. It doesn't have to be a certain way. It's just a few words. I am angry at my adult child. How could they do this to me? I can't believe they kicked me to the curb. Whatever it is, you're letting the emotion out. So journaling is a really good thing to do. But I'm asking you, please, to not judge yourself, because maybe you might write it and you say, oh my God, I love my kids so much. How come I'm so angry with them? Whatever it is you're feeling, because you can have a lot of different feelings. I don't really know. But I know that a lot of people are really angry with their kids because they're like, my God, I did everything for them. I was there for them. I held their hand. I gave them this. I gave them every opportunity. And now they just completely ignore me. I did everything. I sacrificed my life. The list goes on and on. So then they feel bad that they feel angry. Try not to do that. You don't want to judge yourself. Let yourself just feel. The fifth thing you want to do is look forward by believing that your life matters. Your life has meaning and purpose. You just aren't a parent. Yes, it hurts. I know it feels terrible. However, you can live joyfully regardless of your adult child's choice. And even if you have a little bit of hope, and this is where the stage of acceptance and hope comes in the grieving process. Have a little bit of hope that this can be true for you, that you can feel joy again. Grieving is challenging, but the intensity will diminish in time for most. You may never get to a place where you don't daily think of your kid and pine for them. However, the intensity of all of those emotions will lessen in time. I hope this video has been a help to you. Please tell me what you think in the comments section. Hit the like, subscribe, ring the bell so you can get more, and don't forget to get my ebook, Feeling Heartbroken and Alone, How to Pick Up the Pieces When You're Estranged. See you in the next video.